I ended up in the ER after drinking a gallon of vodka in one day. That happened last year. Did I learn my lesson? Nope. I had to start hearing a voice in my head to stop. Today marks 30 days of sobriety, so I decided it was the perfect time to start this channel to keep myself accountable. This is not my first time quitting. I've gone sober for months to half a year at a time in the past. I'm 33 years old, so I was about 20 when I started drinking. It all started with beer. I drink 2 to 3 pints once or twice a week, and the funny thing is that I never really liked it in the beginning at all. But I know that I've seen people act really weird when they're drunk, and I was fascinated with that because I'd never been in an altered state of mind. Never fainted, never smoked weed, never took any drugs, not even an opioid painkiller in my life. As a matter of fact, in high school, I used to think that drunkards were losers. And over a decade of drinking, I ended up proving myself right. So as I said, I started off drinking a bit of beer every now and then, working as a volunteer bartender during my college years, and I became a certified bartender after I graduated, which only meant spending more time around alcohol. And I eventually started drinking a half gallon of beer most days before work, after work to relax, going to work hungover. That's around the time I got my driver's license as well. I remember driving after drinking 4 pints, and my instructor was like, "Whoa, you drive really well, bro. You drive really well today." It's because I didn't have any anxiety. I did end up having to cut that lesson short because I got creeping diarrhea. So he started telling me stories of his students who shat themselves during the exam, and I'm like clutching my cheeks. I'm like, bro, this is not helping. So I ended up driving myself home that day, and kept drinking throughout that summer, and it only got worse. The last 5 years of my drinking career is when I started drinking like insane amount of beer. So I was going out at 3 a.m. on beer runs, which is how you know things are really getting out of control. If you have to go out past midnight because you bought a gallon or a gallon and a half and you drank it all and you're still not drunk, or you're craving more, and that's around the period, the 2020s, early 2020s, when I set my own personal record, which is like 4 gallons in 24 hours. And the number just became meaningless after the second gallon. I wasn't getting a buzz, just a horrible taste because my tongue and my cheeks were just coated in like a thick grain sludge layer. And it just wasn't scratching the itch. Beer wasn't doing it anymore. I was itching. I was itching for something with more spirit, a vodka taste. So I ended up buying a 1/4 gallon bottle, and then another one, and another one, and another one, and I don't actually remember buying the third and the fourth ones. So I pour them in a 7-ounce container that I still have, like one of these little ones, and I just take a sip and another sip and another sip all the time. And after the first 1/4 gallon, after the first liter, I couldn't even taste the vodka. My taste buds and my food pipe were just burned. So you'd think a gallon over 30-ish or so hours is a lot, but it's actually not. It goes like super fast. It's one of these little flasks basically every hour when you include sleep. And I did vomit, but guess what? I just did a vomit review, and I kept drinking. Like I'd be on all fours, just vomiting. Like, bro, this vomit tasted different from the other vomits, and just reviewing it for the invisible cameras in the room. I left myself a bit of vodka so I could halt the withdrawal in the morning, which is what I usually do, because that's what a hangover is essentially. It's alcohol withdrawal. Just as I was expecting, I wake up at 2 a.m. already in a pretty bad withdrawal. Like I felt like I was literally dying. Felt like my heart was gonna explode. So I started taking sips again. I poured myself one of these. I'm taking sips down the first one pretty quick. Nothing was happening. Finished the flask, poured myself a second one, kept drinking. So not only was it not getting better, it got worse real fast. Felt like I was dying. Felt like my heart was gonna literally burst out of my chest. So I called a friend and I was like, hey, I think I got alcohol poisoning. Can you drive me to the hospital? And so I get to the ER at around 3 a.m. on a work day, and we're the only ones there. A tiny little 20-something nurse who'd probably just graduated jumps out into the hallway, and she's like, what's going on? What are you guys doing here? And I just remember mumbling, I drank a little bit. And mind you, I wasn't drunk. I'd consumed 2 flasks because I wasn't drunk, not even buzzed. So she's expecting a incoherent, mumbling drunkard to like be crawling in on all fours or something. And there I am on my feet, conscious, crystal clear, snappy. She takes my blood pressure and she's like, you've got something that we call hypertensive crisis. So I just kind of turn around, look at the monitor behind me, and it says something like 200 over 120. She gave me a shot and a pill under my tongue that lowered my blood pressure over 3 or 4 hours. We talked for a really long time about why I drank, how I drank. Basically, she told me to go and have my heart checked out because this wasn't good, this wasn't normal, and I was also warned that it could damage my kidneys. After those 3 or 4 hours, I just signed one of those. They give you one of these forms that it's like a release form because they wanted to keep me in for 3 days, and I was like, nah. And that morning, so it must have been like 7 or 8 a.m., I went to my doctor, and I immediately got a referral for a cardiologist within the same building. And I saw her within the hour. That's just East European healthcare for you. I mean, you can schedule an appointment with a private clinic and wait for weeks, but I went the public healthcare route because I wanted answers now. And they're super fast. As there's no queues, you just sit on the bench in front of the office, and when someone else leaves and it's your turn to get in, you just get in. That's how cool it is. So the cardiologist takes me in, really nice lady. It was basically just a therapy session, more than it was a heart examination. So she wanted to figure out why I was drinking, did the test in 5 minutes, and was like, yep, you're all good. We were talking for like an hour or so. And she's like, see this shrink though. And I'm like, yeah, nah. So I went home, was sober for a couple months, 2-3 months, and then I started drinking beer again. Because when you feel good, when you're sober and you start feeling good, what feels even better? Drinking. So my coping mechanism is that over the years, I've perfected drinking to a point where I can drink pretty much forever. As long as I only drink a pint every hour or every half hour at worst. That way, I can keep myself pretty much in a permanent buzz forever, or until my liver croaks, or my kidneys shut down, or I develop schizophrenia, which is what I thought was happening a month ago when I said in the beginning of the video that I was hearing a voice. I wasn't hearing it. It was super weird. Usually I'd get over all the bad symptoms within the first 3 days of sobriety. The anxiety, the feeling of doom, feeling like the Dementors from Azkaban prison were sucking the joy out of my soul. And then coming out of my cave resurrected after 3 days of unintentional water fasting. But no, it's like it hit me on the 3rd day, this, what you call it, like a break with reality. I had 2 cups of coffee that morning, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I could very vividly visualize, not visualize, but auditorily imagine a voice in my head that was repeating the same thing over and over again. It started raining. It started raining. It was a woman's voice, a young woman's voice. It started raining. It started raining. I couldn't focus on reading or doing anything. I was starting getting hot flashes and panic, and thought, this is it. I'm finally losing it. I'm becoming schizophrenic. And it turns out it was just my brain was getting blasted with stimulants from the withdrawal. You know how they say that with heavy alcoholism, as you progress through time, the withdrawals get worse and worse. I wasn't expecting that because I usually would just have the anxiety for the first 3 days and then I'll be good. I had read about delirium and all these weird symptoms starting at around the third day, but I had never experienced it until now. So I was relieved. Like, thank God I'm not going crazy the next day when the symptom wasn't there. Physical illness, I don't mind that much, but going crazy, that's where I draw the line. So that's when I also looked in the mirror and noticed, like, my face was puffy, like it was all swollen. I had a double chin. My belly was pretty big. I'm not a huge guy. I'm like 6 feet tall. At 200 pounds was my heaviest, but it was mostly fat, so I was skinny fat. I was even growing, a bit of booba, but they're going down now. And I just didn't like the way I looked. I mean, the alcoholic skinny arms, no muscle tone anywhere. My legs are skinny. Basically, I have like toothpicks for arms and legs, and I got this belly and these titties and the chub on my face. It just doesn't look good. My skin was breaking out. I was getting a dull ache on my right side where your liver is. My hair was falling out. I even developed blind spots in my eyes, which have healed since then, which I attribute to the blood pressure from the drinking. So this is why I'm starting this channel. I want to keep myself accountable and track my progress with this sobriety thing. Share my story and read yours. I'm going to need you guys' comments, because I know people like to talk about themselves. I'm that kind of guy. I watch a video that's relatable, which is why I made this video, so it's relatable. And I'll usually post my story below. That's fine. We're selfish creatures. I'm just sharing my story and I want to read yours and hopefully inspire someone to start uploading videos like I was inspired by others. I've had many YouTube channels before. One of them actually did pretty well. Got 1 million views total, so I have a pretty good hunch that this one will do pretty good as well. I've been thinking of starting this channel for 2 years, but I kept postponing it because I always felt like no one would care, or that I would come across as cringe, like, good job bro, you're back to zero, do you want a medal or something for not drinking? I'm just sharing a story, and there will be many others. Social anxiety, agoraphobia, hypochondria, OCD, schizoid, you name it. This is not an advice channel. I'm not here to give you advice. I'm a firm believer that you're gonna do what you are gonna do anyway. And I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. I just want to upload my digestible story that others can, hopefully relate to. None of that midwit, overly verbose stuff, which I have a proclivity for. None of that
Science and statistics.
Just, a raw, genuine human being who's vulnerable and sharing his experience.